Spicy ladies. Let's talk about something most people write off as just a teenage thing. But trust me, it's so much more than that. We're diving into how to give a hickey that drives him absolutely crazy and keeps you lingering in his mind long after you've left. I know. Hickeys? Aren't those a bit childish? Here's the secret no one tells you. When done right, a hickey isn't some awkward, random mark. It's a bold, flirtatious, deeply psychological move. It can turn a casual moment into an unforgettable experience. Because a real woman, a confident woman, doesn't just give a hickey. She creates a moment that's unexpected. A moment that pulls him out of his head and right into his body. A moment that screams this connection isn't ordinary. In dating, relationships, intimacy, it's never just about the physical act. It's about the energy behind it. When you're confident enough to take control softly, sensually, to tease, to play, to get a little wild, it sends a message deeper than skin. It says, I'm here. I'm present. I know what I want. And guess what? Men crave that. This isn't about being reckless or clingy. It's not about marking territory. That misses the point entirely. This is about owning your sensual power. Doing something physical with emotional intelligence behind it. Saying, you're not going to forget me, and making sure of it. This is for the woman who wants to add that spark, that playful punch of passion, reminding him he doesn't get this from just anyone. So today, I'm giving you 5 key things that transform a hickey from awkward impulse into something magnetic. We'll cover the psychology, the technique, the energy, and how to do it like the self-aware, confident woman you are. Because real connection isn't always about doing more. It's about doing it better. Let's dive in. Here's the first thing most people miss. The sexiest part of intimacy isn't the act itself. It's the anticipation. People imagine a hickey as clumsy, impulsive, sudden, sloppy. But a woman who understands her power doesn't rush. She knows desire is created in the waiting. A hickey with intention isn't about suction and speed. It's about energy, creating a slow, simmering tension that makes him ache for your next move. Think slow dance, not wrestling match. You're guiding his senses, building steady electricity until that one deliberate moment you leave your mark. Where does it start? Not at his neck. Not with your lips. It starts with your presence. Own the moment before you touch him. When your energy is calm, confident, playful, he feels it. You lean in. Not too fast, not too slow. Just enough to make him wonder, what is she doing? Brush your lips softly along his collarbone. Kiss the edge of his jawline. Tease his ear with your breath. Let him feel your mouth unhurried, undesperate. Commanding. Here's the secret. When you take your time, he doesn't just feel your lips. He feels your intention. That's the magic. You're not just touching him, you're exploring him. Making him feel every second with you is its own story. A story saying, I'm not here to rush. I'm here to enjoy you slowly. That slowness? Maddening in the best way. It gives him time to react, to breathe, to be overwhelmed by the feeling of being wanted by you. When you finally give the hickey, it feels like the climax of perfectly timed moments. Earned. Memorable. Not a silly souvenir. A signature. A sensual whisper on his skin saying, I was here. I wanted you. And you felt it. A confident woman doesn't need extremes to be unforgettable. She understands how to stretch a moment, turning a simple touch into a full-body experience. So, before leaving a mark, ask yourself, have you made the moment worth marking? Build it slowly, playfully, with absolute presence. He won't just remember the hickey. He'll remember how you made him feel before it happened. That drives him crazy. Right now, if you are still watching, I hope this video can help you. Your comments motivate me so much, so I can make more videos which you like. So hit that subscribe button and leave me a message. Let's continue. Alright, let's talk precision. Because if you think giving a hickey is just about where your lips land, you're missing half the magic. The where absolutely matters, but so does the when. It's the combination of these two that takes a hickey from feeling accidental to feeling utterly unforgettable. First, the spot. This is where subtlety becomes your secret weapon. Forget the obvious, forget the cliché. Go for the unexpectedly intimate. The places that make him feel deliciously vulnerable. The side of his neck, just beneath the jawline. A classic, yes. But done right, it doesn't scream, look at me. It whispers, only we know what happened here. That's the vibe. Another killer spot? Right where the neck meets the shoulder. Easily hidden under a collar or t-shirt. More private, more personal. And trust me, he'll be checking for it in the mirror the next morning with that smirk on his face, thinking, she really did that. That's the power of smart placement. Here's the thing. A high-value woman isn't marking him like he's property. That's not the energy. You're giving him a secret, essential souvenir of a moment you both shared. One he carries with him quietly. One that reminds him, every time he catches a glimpse or feels a faint throb, of exactly how you made him feel. Completely present, completely wanted, completely in control without needing to prove a thing. Now let's talk timing. This is crucial. A hickey given too soon, or worse, at the wrong moment, it loses its sparkle entirely. You don't just do it because you feel like you should. You do it when the energy is there. When the air between you is thick with that unspoken tension. When you've kissed each other 100 different ways already. When his breathing has shifted. When his eyes lock onto you like you've just short-circuited his entire nervous system. That's your moment. You lean in then. Not because you're trying to force something to happen, but because it feels like the most natural continuation of what's already unfolding. It feels like the next inevitable beat in the rhythm you're creating together. And here's something powerful. When you nail the timing, you don't even need a dramatic, super dark mark. You could give the softest, subtlest little hickey, barely there, and it would still rock his world. Why? Because it's not about the bruise. It's about how incredibly loaded the moment felt when you placed it there. Men don't obsess over marks on their neck. They obsess over the women who made them feel something entirely different in that instant. A woman who made time feel suspended, even just for a breath. So, choose your spot with intention. Choose your moment with care. Pick a location that feels like a shared secret, not a public billboard. Wait for that pulse of electricity in the air, that shift in his energy that tells you he's completely immersed in you. When you combine that precise spot with that perfect timing, he doesn't just walk away with your touch on his skin. He walks away with your presence tattooed on his mind, replaying that specific, perfectly placed moment long after the mark fades. That's how you make it unforgettable. Now, here's where things get really interesting. A hickey isn't just a physical thing. It's a conversation happening on his skin, and the language you use, that's all about the power dynamic behind it. Get this right, and it feels deeply seductive. Get it wrong, and it veers into dangerously possessive territory. Let's be crystal clear. A high-value woman does not give a hickey to claim a man like he's a piece of furniture. That's not seduction. That's insecurity wearing lipstick. But when you understand the emotional language behind it, it transforms into a genuine power move. Why? Because suddenly, it's no longer about proving you have him. It's about expressing the quiet confidence that you don't need to. You're not giving a hickey because you're afraid he'll forget you. You're doing it because you know he won't. Think about the energy shift there. You're not whispering, "You're mine." You're declaring, "I was here, and I made you feel something you won't shake off easily." There's zero desperation in that. No need for control. Just this quiet, magnetic confidence, the kind that doesn't scream for attention. It naturally commands it. And here's the twist most miss. Men are incredibly responsive to this exact energy. Why? Because deep down, every man wants to feel desired just as intensely as you do. He wants to be the absolute focus of your intention for that moment. He wants to feel like you chose him. Playfully, powerfully, without apology. When you give a hickey from that headspace, from grounded, feminine confidence, you're not marking territory. You're imprinting an experience. You're telling his body, loud and clear, you were wanted. Fully. Fiercely. But the second it becomes about control, the magic evaporates. It stops being sexy and starts feeling manipulative. That clingy, mine energy, it's a total turn-off. So here's your real power move. Give a hickey he didn't even realize he craved until he can't stop thinking about it. Do it not to prove a point, but because you're unapologetically owning your sensuality, your assertiveness, and your emotional maturity. You're saying, "I'm not afraid to explore. I'm not afraid to lead. And I'm definitely not afraid to leave an impression." Because here's the truth about what men become obsessed with. It's not the woman who needs to stake a claim. It's the woman who can walk into his space, turn up the heat with effortless confidence, and walk out without a hint of clinging. That kind of self-assured presence, it burns into his memory far deeper than any mark on his skin. So next time you lean in, ditch the mindset of control. Focus purely on chemistry. Don't try to own him. Make him feel like he'll never quite pin you down. And trust me, that is the most intoxicating feeling of all. Let's cut through the noise. Seduction isn't just about what you do with your body. It's about the frequency your energy broadcasts. Your body is the instrument, sure, but your energy? That's the music. Too many people obsess over technique. where to kiss, how to move, how long to press, and completely forget the why. They miss that the most unforgettable moments aren't built on mechanics. They're built on emotional resonance. This is why a woman who understands her power doesn't rely on the hickey itself to do the heavy lifting. She uses her energy to set the stage. Let me break it down. Your energy is what he feels before your lips make contact. It's in the way your eyes lock onto his just before you lean in. Not wide and eager, but calm, knowing, like you hold a delicious secret. It's in the way your fingertips trace his skin, not just touching, but savoring, telegraphing that this moment isn't rushed. It's in your breath, slow, intentional, maybe catching just slightly, making the air feel charged. It's in that almost imperceptible curve of your lips, the hint of a smile that says, I know exactly what this is doing to you. That is the real seduction. That's what builds the wire-taut tension between you. Because a hickey alone doesn't make a man lose his grip. It's the emotional atmosphere you create around it. Rush in with clumsy, scattered, or disconnected energy. The mark is just a mark, a forgettable blip. But step into that space with warm, magnetic, teasing energy. Suddenly, that simple act becomes an invitation into something profound. An experience so charged it leaves him breathless. Not because of the suction, but because of the feeling you cultivated while doing it. Think about it. The most captivating people aren't the ones with the flashiest moves. They're the ones utterly present, making you feel like the only person in the room, radiating quiet confidence without uttering a word. That makes your touch irresistible. That makes him lean in, not just for the kiss, but for the deep connection simmering beneath it. So how do you wield this? You slow everything down. You anchor yourself firmly in the now. You ditch the mental checklist, am I doing it right? And drop into pure instinct and playfulness. You tune into his body, his breath hitching, his muscles tensing, the subtle shift in his posture. You let the moment become a shared, silent conversation of attention and response. The hickey? It's just one powerful punctuation mark in that intimate dialogue. And when you finally leave that impression on his skin, it doesn't just linger there. It echoes in his memory, because he didn't just register your lips. He absorbed your confidence. He felt your freedom. He witnessed your complete command of the moment. That's what haunts him long after. The energy you radiated becomes the ghost he can't shake. Remember this, seduction's power doesn't live in the action. It lives in the invisible current you bring to it. Master that, and your touch will resonate within him long after you've left the room. Here's one of sensual power's greatest secrets. You don't need to give everything to be unforgettable. In fact, what makes a man crave you, obsess over you, replay that night in his mind on loop, is often what you didn't do. That's the magnetic pull of restraint. When it comes to giving a hickey, or creating any truly electric intimate moment, less is almost always more. Not because you're playing games or being withholding, but because you deeply understand the irresistible allure of mystery. A woman who knows her worth realizes she doesn't have to overwhelm a man to captivate him. She knows a single, slow, intentional act can leave a deeper imprint than a dozen frantic ones. Why? Because true seduction isn't about exhaustion. It's about evocation. It's about being just intense enough to ignite his imagination long after you've stepped away. So, when you give him that hickey, when he's feeling the heat of your breath, the softness of your mouth, the subtle bloom of the mark on his skin, don't linger until the magic fizzles. End it while the charge is still crackling in the air. Pull away while he's still catching his breath, while the intensity is at its peak. That's what creates the ache for more. That's what makes him lean forward, wanting to chase the feeling you just gave him. Here's the deeper psychology. When you show him you could have given more, but consciously chose not to, it builds something powerful: respect, intrigue, and raw curiosity. It signals you aren't trying to win him through sheer intensity or over-delivery. You're grounded, composed, confident that what you have done is more than enough to leave him utterly fascinated, wondering, who is she? And when can I feel that again? He doesn't just want your touch. He wants to earn the next moment of it. That longing is what hooks him emotionally. Men become captivated by women who know how to spark the fire without burning the whole house down. They don't fixate on the woman who gave everything away at once. They obsess over the one who made them feel something profound and then left them standing there, vibrating with the desire for what might come next. And believe me, if he's into you, he will remember. Every glance at that faint mark in the mirror, every time someone asks about it and he gets that secretive grin, every time he feels the phantom echo of your lips. That one little act, done with emotional intelligence, playful restraint, and unwavering confidence becomes the spark that ignites everything else in his mind. So don't give it all. Give just enough to awaken him, to stir his senses, to plant a seed in his imagination he can't stop tending to. Then step back, calm, smiling, radiating the quiet power of knowing your worth. Untouchable in the best way possible. That is how you leave a man utterly consumed by the thought of you. That is how you make sure he feels you long after you've gone. Ladies, let's be real. We live in a world that often gets seduction wrong. It's portrayed as loud, over the top, or desperately trying to impress. But the real magic, the kind that lingers, it's quieter. It's in your subtle confidence, your presence, your ability to own the moment without needing to perform. Giving a hickey isn't about marking territory or forced wildness. It's about crafting a moment, one that makes him feel deeply wanted, truly seen, deliciously desired, and perfectly, wonderfully undone. Because the secret isn't in the suction. It's in the energy you pour into it. When you build the delicious tension, when you choose the moment with intuition, when you lead with grounded confidence and leave behind just a taste of your fire, you don't just make him feel physically desired. You make him emotionally addicted. That's the mark of a woman who understands her power. So next time you find yourself in that intimate space, remember, don't rush. Don't overthink. Don't try to prove a single thing. Just slow down. Savor the connection. Let your presence, calm, knowing, effortlessly magnetic, speak louder than any technique ever could. Trust that energy. You, and he, will never forget it. Stay true to yourself. To all the spicy ladies make life beautiful. See you in our next video.